Personal story segment tonight, suing widows. As you may know, Jesse Ventura is suing the widow of Chris Kyle, the Navy SEAL author. Mr. Ventura claiming the late Mr. Kyle defamed him. And now former federal agricultural employee Shirley Sherrod suing the widow of Andrew Breitbart for an internet beef that happened years ago. So two widows now have to endure these lawsuits. In addition, as we reported last night, some of the motorcycle gang people who attacked an SUV may sue the father who was protecting his wife and daughter. Mean? Off the chart. Joining us now from Washington, Guy Benson, political editor for townhall.com and Fox News contributor. Here in the studio is Zerlina Maxwell, political analyst and contributor to Ebony Magazine. We'll begin with you, Ms. Maxwell. Are we a mean country?
Yes, we are. I think that we're too mean-spirited. I don't think that it's wrong to sue the widows, because that is a part of consequences for Andrew Breitbart's behavior, for the SUV driver's behavior. So yes, we're mean-spirited.
Okay, I disagree with you 100% on the suing the widows, by the way, because I don't think the widows had anything to do with the action, all right? So they shouldn't have to be held accountable.
Well, it's part of the estate, and that's how the legal process works.
All right, but they're inflicting pain on widows, so there's not enough money in the world that make me do that. Now, why? What's the why behind it? Have we always been a mean country when we were slaughtering Native Americans and taking their land, when we were enslaving African Americans? So from the jump, has America been a mean country? I think that mean is a little bit too simple a term. I think it's hard-hearted, right? So we've done a lot of things in the past that are mistakes. And in order to make up for those mistakes, we need to have policies that help the least among us, you know, live by Matthew 25. I think that we start with enslaving people, and then we're doing Jim Crow and all types of things policy-wise that harm African Americans all throughout generations. And we're not making up for when we started out being mean during slavery. All right. Mr. Benson, you say?
I say America is absolutely not a mean or hard-hearted country. I mean, of course I'll agree with Zerlina that there are instances every single day of unimaginable cruelty in this society, and history is littered with not just meanness, but pure evil, like slavery, like the Trail of Tears. We have a blemished history, but that does not make the country itself at its core mean or mean-spirited. I think there are everyday examples everywhere you look that prove that point on the micro level and on the macro level.
All right, now let me challenge for a moment. I agree with you that America is essentially a noble nation and the good far outweighs the bad throughout our history. However, we don't have an outcry anymore against barbaric behavior. We used to. We don't anymore. I mean, suing widows, the people who do this should be outcasts. You know, if they have a legitimate beef, okay, put it aside. Put it aside. These women didn't do anything to you. This SUV guy trying to protect his 2-year-old in a car, you're suing him? Are you kidding me? All Americans should rise up against these kinds of atrocities, Mr. Benson, and that disturbs me that we're not.
Well, Bill, I would argue you have the #1 cable news show in the country, and here you are leading that outcry and pointing out the injustice. And one of the best things about our country, one of the best reasons why we aren't mean, why we're a great, noble people, is that you and I have the freedom and ability to come on this.
Well, let me ask you a question about your point there. What happens to me when I do that, Mr. Benson?
Well, I mean, in this particular case, your guest, me, agrees with you.
No, what happens to me is I have to have armed bodyguards if I go out in public.
Well, you're famous. I mean, it's also because you're famous, right?
No, it's not because I'm famous. It's because of what I say. Now, going back to your point, on balance, United States, mean nation from the jump? I mean, that overwhelms all the good we've done? I don't think it overwhelms the good, but I think that we always can do better. You know, you're talking about everybody can do better, but but you look at all the people we've freed all over the world and all the opportunity we give people. What do you think millions of people have snuck in here? So, I mean, come on. I think the balance is in the nobility range. I'll give you the last word on it.
Well, I think that, you know, you're talking about walking around with armed bodyguards. I myself have received death threats and hate mail, and I think that the most important thing for me was the people that stood up and had my back in that situation.
It's just a matter of,
and I think that we don't do that often enough.
How many? And I think the internet is making us a meaner society.
Absolutely. Social media allows
these little cowards can hide behind their little handles. And you don't even know that they are. All right, very interesting discussion, guys. Thanks very much. Plenty more ahead as the factor moves along this evening. Is it legal on California?